Oh, right, yeah. Trump planning to attack Iran. All I've seen as well, this was kind of crazy to me because all I've seen is people giving shit to Trump. I see that Dave Smith, the comedian, and he's basically saying Trump wants to make a deal, but the deal's already off the table. Basically calling for wars. Oh, whoa, 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 Smith, you're a comedian, right? You want to put bombs in the air and men on the ground. I just thought that was crazy, like he's saying. And then the next thing, this popped up. Trump plans to attack Iran. So yeah, let's go.
President Trump has approved plans for America to join Israel's attacks on Iran, but is said to still be making a final decision on whether to go ahead with that. Well, the BBC's US partner CBS News says it's been told by two sources that the US president is waiting to see if Tehran agrees to abandon its nuclear program. Well, I've been speaking to CBS News correspondent Jared Hill to get the latest developments from the US.
So there are a couple of things that we are learning from sources here at CBS News about President Trump's potential decision on what to do with Iran. One of the factors, from what we've learned from sources, is that it is dependent upon whether Iran, in some way, shape, or form, decides to abandon its nuclear program. Yesterday, President Trump said that Iranian officials had been asking to come to the White House to talk about this. Iranians, though, have said that they have not had any type of conversation about that, and so we still don't know what the truth is there. The Iranians are also saying that they don't plan on surrendering. The other factor here that we've learned is that President Trump is potentially waiting for more U.S. military assets to arrive in the region before he makes a decision on whether there will be some type of physical strike on Iran. We have seen some efforts from some Republican and Democratic lawmakers here in the U.S. on Capitol Hill in Washington, weighing whether they should push through a bill or a law that would prevent President Trump from acting on Iran without the approval of Congress. That is in the early stages right now, but all of this showcases just how divisive this issue is here in the States.
Indeed, and perhaps even divisive in his government, Jared, because we heard a couple of months ago from Tulsi Gabbard, who said something quite different in terms of how ready Iran was in terms of nuclear capabilities.
That's right. So the argument here is that all of this is happening because Iran, the argument again is Iran is incredibly close to enriching enough uranium to have a nuclear weapon. What we heard from Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, just in March, was that the assessment was that Iran was not close to having a nuclear weapon. President Trump, a couple of days ago, said he doesn't care what Tulsi Gabbard said. He believes, based on his current knowledge or intuition, that they are close to having a nuclear weapon. And so there is that division within the Trump administration itself on the intel.
Well, that's Jared Hill with the view from the United States.
I actually like that guy because normally you watch the news and you can tell which side of the political agenda. I actually, listening to him run that down, I have no idea what side he actually thinks. He just literally said, "This is what it is." Like, there was no slam on Trump, and there was no slam on. Do you know what I mean? There was like, and news outlets seem incapable of doing that nowadays. They seem incapable of giving you the news without their own personal bias behind it. Actually, thought he was, yeah, he was actually good because, like I say, I don't know what side he votes, what side he thinks, where he is. All he did was give me the facts, and that's all you need. I don't need you to tell me anything more than actually what is the thing. Let me make up my own decision. But anyway, that's just, yeah.
As President Trump decides whether or not to join Israel in its military action. And we are getting some response on Iranian state media from Iran's deputy foreign minister, who said if the US wants to actively intervene in support of Israel, Iran will have no other option but to use its tools to teach aggressors a lesson and defend itself. Well, as efforts to de-escalate the tensions continue, the British Foreign Secretary David Lammy is going to be meeting his US counterpart Marco Rubio in Washington today. Well, earlier I was speaking to our political correspondent Joe Pike in Westminster to get more of a sense of the UK's position on all of this.
The UK's position is evolving because the key message of escalation we've heard from UK government ministers does not seem to be being heeded in the White House. David Lammy meeting Marco Rubio today and other key contacts in Washington, D.C., we're told. There has been some tension in the relations between the two countries over the UK's decision with some other nations like Australia and Canada to sanction two Israeli ministers in connection to their comments on Gaza. Now, the UK's position has sort of two key question marks around it. Firstly, over what the US ask to the UK might be if there is intervention. How could the UK be involved? A lot of speculation around the UK military base at Diego Garcia. That's in the Chagos Islands in the centre of the Indian Ocean, because that's where it's certainly possible that American B-2 stealth bombers could launch from if they are to take action in Iran. Another possibility, of course, is the UK does what it did last October, which is shoot down missiles being fired from Iran towards Israel. The second big question mark for the UK government really is around the legal advice, and certainly echoes of the legal advice and the sort of debates over legal advice around the Iraq war 22 years ago. Suddenly the Attorney General, who's not a particularly prominent figure in UK politics, comes to the fore again in these sorts of discussions. Richard Herman's the Attorney General, and his legal advice around different sort of roles for the UK government will be fascinating. Number 10 saying to me today he's closely involved, but they do not want to comment on what that legal advice might be. One other key point I think it's definitely worth making, Regina, and that is around how people are feeling in the UK government, in particular in the Foreign Office. Diplomats do seem definitely anxious, not just anxious about avoiding an escalation in the Middle East, but also maintaining what so far seems to have been a pretty positive relationship between President Trump and Prime Minister Starmer. There are UK diplomats and government sources within Number 10 who believe they've really aced the first 6 months of the Trump presidency. They point to this UK-US trade agreement, which is limited. It's not all enacted, but it has, they argue, tangibly improved the access to the US markets of some UK companies. And the UK got to the head of the queue with that. And therefore, there is this anxiety that that relationship between Starmer and Trump, between Number 10 and the White House, between the UK and the US is maintained, whatever Donald Trump decides to do in the coming hours and days.
Well, that's Joe Pike in Westminster there. A short while ago, we brought you reports that foreign ministers from the UK, Germany, France and the EU were planning to meet in Geneva on Friday to have talks to de-escalate the situation. They were planning to meet Iran. Well, that's now been confirmed according to Iranian state media. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi confirming that there will be a meeting between him and European counterparts in Geneva. So, of course, efforts to de-escalate the situation continuing, and that is, of course, significant because it's European leaders meeting with Iran.
I mean, I kind of think it's the same with the Ukraine thing. I find it's kind of crazy that we seem to think we can tell people, like, why can't Iran have nuclear weapons if other people have? And why is it our business? Like, it's like that becomes a very bullying kind of thing. But same with Ukraine, when they made Ukraine. But also, I was thinking then, Iran and Israel are both capable countries. Neither of them are slouches when it comes to a fight, so they can handle each other. We've seen two grossly out of balance wars, Russia-Ukraine and Israel-Palestine, where you look at it and go, it's clearly going to be so one-sided, it's not even funny. And people was more hesitant to to join in on either side. But then when two capable countries go to war, everyone wants to jump on one side. Yeah. Why don't you just let them fight it out? But yeah, I also want to see something, because I saw something as well about Starmer preparing for war. So yeah, I'll tag that on now as well. But yeah, this is Starmer saying UK's nearly war ready. I have to say, he's been very keen on that his whole time in. He's talking about bringing conscription back, and like war has, and it's kind of crazy. It was like that Dave Smith I was saying about. He's a left-wing person. The roles seem to have reversed in just about everything, where the left seems to be war hungry, and they seem to be the one that want to. But for as long as I've been alive, the left was like the hippie, no war, no dropping bombs. But yeah, so I have to say, Starmer all the way through, it is like someone who. What is why I don't think people should actually have guns, because I always think that if I had a gun, I would always be thinking, come on, someone just test me, come on, try me. Come on, give me a reason. And I think Starmer's a bit like that with the military. He's got a whole like an army there, and he wants to use it. Like he's thinking, come on, someone give me a reason. But yeah, let's see what this is saying. Let's go.
We are moving to warfighting readiness as the central purpose of our armed forces. When we are being directly threatened by states with advanced military forces, the most effective way to deter them is to be ready. And frankly, to show them that we're ready, to deliver peace through strength. Every part of society, every citizen of this country has a role to play, because we have to recognize that things have changed. In the world of today, the front line, if you like, is here. The threat we now face is more serious, more immediate, and more unpredictable than at any time since the Cold War. We face war in Europe, new nuclear risks, daily cyber attacks, growing Russian aggression in our waters, menacing our skies, their reckless actions driving up the cost of living here at home, creating economic pain and hitting working people the hardest. A new era in the threats that we face demands a new era for defence and security. We will innovate and accelerate innovation at a wartime pace, so we can meet the threats of today and of tomorrow as the fastest innovator in NATO.
It reminds me of that meme. I think it said that David Cameron, the UK is war ready, or no, ready for war. And then underneath it said, leave off, Dave. We ain't even ready for snow. And it is. It's like, yeah. But it's crazy to me that. Also, I've not really heard Keir Starmer talk before, really. He has the voice of like a pillow. Like a very, like, he didn't inspire a fight in me. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, the Winston Churchill things, if I listen to him now, I want to invade somewhere. He's been dead for years. Do you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, that didn't. I have to say that didn't inspire fight and fire in my belly. It was. It was like a. Actually, Keir Starmer should read scary stories. He'd have a great voice for that. But yeah, yeah, the UK's war ready. I mean, I suppose we are. You know what I mean? We have still have a great navy. We still have the SAS. I think the SAS is like the most elite thing in the world. I think like I even see the American Special Forces said, yeah, the SAS, like the American Special Forces do studies on the embassy siege, which that's some phenomenal. I actually might react to that. That's some phenomenal viewing. And the SAS went in and yeah, released hostages live on TV. That's some good TV. But yeah, craziness going on in the world. And actually haven't done no more on the Iran Israel since we did the first one, because it's just the same thing. They're just chucking bombs at each other, and it's saddening, to be fair. It's like, I was thinking that as well with them videos of the bombs. There's something quite beautiful about it too. Like I said, the lights in the sky and how they're all in formation going across. But it's like a weird type of, bit like Nine Inch Nails. It's a beauty that's also disturbing. But yeah, anyway, that's the reaction. Sweet.